Today is Monday, March 8th. As soon as I started recording, Nick's like, I'm out of here. See you later, suckers. Okay, no worries, Nick. We'll carry on. Chapter 2, financial. Oh, Nick's back. Sorry, I've got the little thing on. The little it only shows me like 3 or 4 people at a time. So Nick was the only one I could see there. So I was like, geez, the only person I could see took
My
off.
bad. I just wanted to get a drink.
That's okay. All right. I'm just giving you a hard time. All right. Financial aspect of your planning. This is going to be one of the major financial decisions of your life. There are a couple of them, something like this, deciding whether or not to get married, etc. So we're going to talk about the financial aspects of career planning. Learning objectives, you can see those. Career choice factors. A job is an employment position obtained mainly to earn money. Most people change jobs several times during a lifetime. So I started working in 1997, and I've worked for Fuji, Swiss, and Taurus. I've had about 9 different employers, maybe 10 different employers since 1997. That's 25 years. Wow, that's actually quite a few. That's probably why I never made any money. A career is a commitment to a profession that requires continued training. Career selection and professional growth require planning. Trade-offs of career decisions. Career choice and professional development alternatives, like all things, have risks and opportunity costs, right? Anytime you're making a choice to do something, you're making a choice not to do something else. Career choices require periodic evaluation of trade-offs related to personal, social, and economic factors. So I started working in finance in 1997. I got a job at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange where they like stand in the pits and shout and do all the hand signals and everything like that. And I worked in finance from 97 until 2013. And I left for personal reasons. I had some health problems. I think I told you guys I had what was eventually diagnosed as a brain tumor. And I just wasn't happy with my life. It was a great career. It was a great job, and I gave up a lot financially, but I just wasn't happy with where I was for other reasons, i.e. non-financial reasons. The skills gap, the difference between skills needed by employers and the skills possessed by applicants, is an ongoing concern. Employability skills are also missing in many potential employees. Talk to me about the skills gap.
There's some careers that they need you to have a lot of like experience, but you can't really get it without being hired. So it's like an ongoing circle. They ask you for more experience, but they won't hire you to get experience, and so on and so on.
Are you thinking of an industry in particular?
Well, the one that I work in for steel, in welding, we usually need people who have experience welding, and if they're like right off out of school, they're not too confident on what they can do. So sometimes they don't give them the opportunities to get hired and get the experience because you need to move on with certain jobs. So you don't have time to, as they call it, hand holding.
Well, I would think in a trade like that, that's why traditionally you had apprenticeships, right?
Right.
Do they do that anymore or no?
I think it just depends on, if it's an independent welder, they'll take it on. But if it's a business, like an actual company, I don't think they would do that anymore. Or
Really?
at least I haven't heard of something like that
That's
recently.
interesting, because I would think that's great for them in that you get to train people to do it the way you want, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, this is, traditionally to work at a hedge fund, you had to work at an investment bank first to kind of cut your teeth. But then the hedge fund would bring you on and say, we're going to train you to do things the way we want them done. But you need to have certain skills already.
Right.
It was kind of like a training ground. That's interesting. I know some people who tried to work in fashion. So one of my former students, I don't know if you guys, he was the head pattern maker for a pretty popular women's fashion brand that made like, you know, really like popular dresses and things like that. And he was probably 30 years old. And I said, how did you get that job? I said, because everyone I've ever seen, and I know a few people who work in fashion, you go and you study at FITM or something like that, and then you go to get a job and they say, oh yeah, we want an entry-level pattern maker. You need 7 years of experience and it pays $18,000. Kind of like, wow, okay, that's not very much money for someone with, you know, 5 to 7 years experience. And what do you do in hiring an entry level type person with that much experience? Because apparently there's so much demand to work in fashion, primarily among young females, that, you know, they can basically make those kinds of demands. So it's like, wow, you know, how do you get those jobs? And I asked this guy, and I said, what, like, walk me through this. How'd you get this job? You're 30 years old, right? And and actually he had kind of a, well, I won't say a funny story, but an interesting story. He's from Afghanistan. His father was killed by the Taliban when he was like 11. So they fled to Iran. He was the oldest male. He had to go to work and support the family. So he basically started sewing at like 11 or 12 years old. He's like, they had to make a special stool for me to be able to reach the table and stuff. He goes, so when I come to America, I'm sort of 25 years old. I've already got 13 years of experience. So I don't mind working for, you know, $20,000 at 25 years old because I, you know, was a recent immigrant. That was way more money than I ever made anywhere else, et cetera. So obviously that's kind of a story where someone was able to kind of use all of their experience. Granted, most of us aren't able or willing or, you know, don't think we should start working at 13 years old. Fortunately, not many people have to do that here. But that's an example, just like the welding thing, of the skills gap. Are you guys in school for this? And this is something that community colleges and other schools are always trying to figure out. Why are people going to school here? Why aren't they going to school here? Does this factor into your decisions? Yes, no? Yes, I see a few of you nodding. You want to give us a bit more example or a bit more color on this situation?
Could you repeat the question?
Well, basically, like, you know, you guys are in school. Now, there is what has been identified as a skills gap. Employers want skills. A lot of people don't have them. So if you think of welding, you think of pattern making, you can think of accounting, et cetera, et cetera. Employers want people they're hiring to have certain skills. But, and granted, this isn't necessarily like bad education or stuff. Employers always want, oh, I want you to have an MBA from the top school in the world and 15 years of experience, and I want to pay you $25,000. Okay, well, good luck with that. I want to graduate high school and not have gone to college and not really have any skills and get paid $250,000. Right? Neither one of us in that scenario is being very realistic. So you do have to be more realistic. You know, what do you think is one of the major concerns that employers have?
But sorry to cut you off, Professor.
No.
And also you have the employers that want you to have a degree before they promote you and they oversee your experience.
Sorry, say that again. I missed that.
A lot of employers need a certificate, need you to have a bachelor's, a master's, so they could promote. Like perhaps with me, I was with Home Depot. I was an assistant store manager with them. Home Depot grows within. So I was with them for almost 8.5 years. I left them personal reasons. I'm currently working for FedEx. At FedEx, to promote me, they love my experience, but they won't promote me without a bachelor's degree in business management.
Interesting. That's it. That's interesting. See, and that, you know, for the last several decades, I think that's been the case. I do think that is starting to change a bit, maybe more so at smaller firms as opposed to larger firms, but I don't know. You guys would know that better than I would. I think the idea of like, oh, you need to have this piece of paper. I'm thinking, I don't know, I haven't seen the data, but I'm thinking more firms are willing to overlook that. Hey, we've got someone here. She's been here 8 years. She has all this experience. Da, 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 da. Let's give her a promotion, right? Because ultimately,
Sorry,
no, go ahead.
mind you, they pay me okay. I'm not complaining about what they pay me. The thing is that they won't give me an official title without that piece of paper.
Yeah. And I would, I can see why you would be frustrated by that. I would be frustrated by that, right?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, if you guys need certain skills, then you should send me to training for those skills, for management skills. And that's so I'm surprised. I would have thought they did that in-house too, those kinds of skills. Hey, we've got a management training program and we want you to enter that, etc. But I don't know. That's fascinating. Thank you for that. One of the other things is where the US especially is lacking is math skills. And this kills me personally. I don't consider myself that great at math, but I worked in finance for several decades, but I have tons of students come through who lack very, very, very basic math skills. That's the fault of our education system, and that's tough for employers. Right? It's tough for me as a professor. I have to try and teach my investments class with only a little bit of math. I don't want to have tons and tons of engineering type math. I don't think that's necessary, and it would even be over my head in most cases. But this is one thing you guys as students in the US, you have to take that responsibility on yourselves, right? Because the schools aren't going to make sure you can do math. And you need to be able to do it. I can't tell you, I worked overseas for 14, 15 years. Foreign students just crush it in math, right? The Chinese, the Koreans, the French, the Germans, their math skills are just amazing. Any derivatives, exotic derivatives desk at any bank in any city in the world is going to have French people working there. You can go to a Japanese bank in Tokyo and their exotic derivatives desk is going to be French people. Right? They just put out great engineers. Anyway, so how many of you, just give me an emoji or something, are here to close that skills gap? This is why you're taking a class, for an employer or a future potential employer. Just one of you. Okay, 2, 3. Okay, got a couple. All right, got a couple. Okay. And I'm sure, I would hope the schools do all this kind of research, like why are you here? Why are you taking classes, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, because you think I'm entertaining, right? But in general. Okay, career training and skill development. Level of formal training.
Professor.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm gonna switch to my computer now, so I'm just gonna log out and then log back in.
We'll be here. All right. Level of formal training affects financial success. Training may be viewed in 2 main categories. Technical skills refers to specialized career training for a specific profession. General skills, traits adaptable to most work situations, called social intelligence. Some can be acquired at school, while others require experience. The bulk of my experience is in finance and investment banking. The people I saw who were most successful weren't necessarily the smartest or the best at like investing money and making a return and this and that. They were people with social intelligence and what you would consider general skills. It's kind of shocking to me because I'm like, wow, do these people even know anything about investment banking? Oftentimes they didn't, but they kept getting promoted and promoted and promoted. So I'm assuming it's like that in other industries. Right? In investment banking and finance, you have very clear, like, oh, I generated X amount of dollars. This person generated 4 times X. Well, that person should get promoted. Oh, wait, no, they don't. I got promoted instead. Wow. Why is that? Right? It's general skills more often than not. That's what I've found. Those of you in other industries might have different experiences. Education and income. Median weekly earnings for various levels of education. Sorry, I'm like having a hard time reading because I'm got this bright light right in my face so that you guys can see me. It's not the most conducive for actually lecturing. I should get one of those like studio lights with the soft thing. Anyway, 2-year degree, median weekly earnings, $830. Bachelor's degree, $1,170. Master's, $1,400. Doctorate, $1,790. Now you have to be careful with this stuff because these are averages, right? And in my other classes where I create my own lectures, we talk about student loans. And one of my exes, her ex-boyfriend, is getting his PhD at Harvard. Is that a good move? Get a PhD from Harvard? Yeah.
Yes and no.
Why yes, why no?
Good school to get it from, but I bet it's gonna cost him an arm and a leg.
It's gonna cost him a lot of money.
I mean, he can make that money back because a lot of people, you know, they see Harvard and they just think best of the best. He's the top guy. Maybe they'll give him a bigger salary just because he has a degree from Harvard.
You know what he's studying? Medieval Japanese poetry.
Never mind. I'm kidding.
What do you think he's going to be able to do with a PhD in medieval Japanese poetry?
Teach.
Yeah, he's going to teach medieval Japanese poetry. That's pretty much the only career option out there, as far as I know, unless there's someone who's, you know, really into it and just wants to hire a PhD to translate medieval Japanese poetry or interpret it or whatever you do. I don't have any idea. Right now, that's obviously a bit of an extreme example, but you compare that to my other friend who's got a master's from Columbia in mechanical engineering or electrical engineering, one of those two, right? Now that's a massively valuable degree, right? So all degrees are not created equally. And this is what you need to think about when you look at these things. Oh, well, that guy getting his PhD in medieval Japanese poetry, $1,790 a week, that's probably, I mean, that's what he makes in some years, right? $1,790. Hey, I made $1,800 last year, right? That's pretty much the extent of it. Now you compare that to my other friend with the master's in electrical engineering or whatever, and he makes that, you know, every day, right? So don't just, you know, don't be thrown off just by looking at these. You have to dig a bit deeper and look at what are you studying? What is it going to cost you, right? For me as a professor, if I get a PhD, I will get a pay raise. It's not very much, and it doesn't matter where I get the PhD from. It's actually not even worth it for me to get a PhD, right? That's the only way I can move to the next column. So we're a union, so there's rows and columns, and I have the most education except for a PhD. And if I get a PhD, I'll make like an extra $1,000 a year or something like that. So it's not even worth it. Now, most jobs aren't that rigid, right? And there certainly are other value, other things of value in a degree, like networking, right? And I think that's the main attraction for schools like that. Thoughts on education? I think you guys are doing it great. You know, I think pretty much everyone here is from California. So what's this class cost you if you're paying the full rate, like $140 or something?
I think it's 156.
Yeah, 156. I mean, that's pretty good. I think you're getting value for money without, hopefully, don't come across as too arrogant, thinking that, you know, you paying $150 is worth your money. Personal factors. A satisfying career may be identified using guidance tests that measure abilities, interests, personal qualities, aptitudes, interest inventories, your personality. Do you perform best in structured or high pressure situations, or do you prefer unstructured or creative work environments? Personal SWOT analysis. Anyone ever heard of a SWOT analysis?
No.
Yeah.
Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. You know, these are things where I took one of these tests. I think it's called the ASVAB. Anyone taken that? Do they still give that in high school?
I never took it.
Like I think the military gives it, right? And you take it and then they go, oh, you should be in the military. You shouldn't be in the, I don't know. I took it. I pretended I was sick that day. But you know, as far as I know, that's the only experience someone like me ever had with one of those tests. The rest of it is just kind of like, you go into a field because it's interesting, and then after a while you lose interest, and that's kind of what happened to me. And so I've gotten into teaching because I really enjoyed that. You know, I don't know if I'm any good at it or if my students learn. Hopefully you guys do. Career decision making. Let me see if I can blow this up a little bit so that I can read it. So assess and so just give me a show of hands. Who's given some thought to what their future career might be? Who thinks they have an idea what they want to do for work as far as industry? Now, unfortunately, I can't see who is that. Is that Janice? Go ahead. I can see your name.
Yeah, Janesse.
Janesse, what are you thinking?
Well, I'm right now in school for the interpreting training program.
For
I'm
what?
gonna be interpreting.
Like sign language interpreting?
Sign language interpreting, yeah.
Okay, okay. There's a huge demand for that, right?
Yes, there is.
Okay, good, good, good. And wow, like I can't, why won't you show me people's names? Nancy, you raised your hand.
I own my own business, so this is practically for my business, what I'm doing.
What kind of business?
Cleaning business. I clean for the county, and then I have other offices that I clean as well.
Oh, okay, okay, great. Nick?
I want to be a professor, history professor.
Oh, that was my dream. That was my dream. Nice. What's your favorite period of history, Nick?
My favorite period has to be like either the 1800s or the early 1900s, like 1914.
Okay. Interesting, interesting. We'll talk about that more offline. Nikki?
It was Nikki. I'm trying to change my career at this time of my life to clinical informatics and patient care.
Okay, okay. Good stuff. Thank you. Jorge?
I think I already reached it, but I want to be an electrician.
Electrician. Oh, okay.
Yeah, eventually own my own business, but I mean, I'm already an electrician now. My dream would be own my own company.
Oh, okay. So you work for someone else now?
Yeah, I currently work for a company.
Oh, okay. Awesome. 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 Nikki, did you have your hand raised?
I am actually studying for communications and for sociology to become a social worker.
Oh, okay. All right. Oof. It's a tough career.
Yeah, it's pretty tough.
Massive burnout there, right?
Yeah.
It's okay. Good, good, good. Anyone else that I missed? No? Okay, I can't see everyone else. Okay, good, 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 good. So hopefully you guys have done some research into that. Now, my other class, when I teach this, one of the worksheets we do, I didn't do it on this class, but you look at what your career options are and what you might be expected to earn. So I would assume a social worker, Nikki, probably doesn't earn a ton of money. Is that right? Like kind of $40,000 to $60,000 maybe after a few years?
Around that, yeah. Social worker, yes.
I think it depends on the district. My wife has a master's in social work. She's a school social worker, and when she first started a few years back, it was 75K. Right now,
more than I expected. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so right now she's clearing a little more than 80. But yeah, that's what they had told her at first too, that she wouldn't be making much. But I think that master's we kind of pushed her a little bit up there.
Okay, good, good. Who's our electrician? Is that Jorge?
Yeah, it is.
Is that a union job?
I'm actually, no, I'm not. I don't work for a union. I work for a private sector. So I work for our company pays really well, but we're not unionized yet, and I don't think we will be. We work more with high-end clients, so we're like all cash-based business and everything.
Okay.
So
you
it's
do
we
somebody's
do
house,
get
Beverly
paid
Hills
pretty
or
good.
something like that, and they pay
Yeah,
you
we don't have anything government.
they pay you $500 to hook up their TV and internet or something like that. Nice. Okay, awesome, awesome. So yeah, then you might research this, develop a resume, cover letter. Again, use the resources that the school has for this kind of stuff. My philosophy is always apply for jobs and go on interviews. You learn stuff by doing interviews. Nick, did you have a question, or was your hand just raised from before?
It was just raised from before.
Okay, no stress, no stress. But yeah, I just like the best way to get skills interviewing is to keep doing it and practicing. That's much better than any kind of mock interviews. You apply for jobs, you go on interviews, etc. And even if you don't get a job, if they're not hiring, you still make the contact, right? And for you guys, it's easy. Afterwards, you just shoot an email. Hey, thank you very much. Really appreciate the time. Back in my day, you used to have to like type out a letter, print it, address a freaking envelope. And obviously you couldn't print the envelope in your printer. So you had to address it by hand to go buy a stamp and all that kind of BS. So you don't have to worry about that stuff now. So it's so easy for you. Career opportunities. Evaluate factors that influence employment opportunities. So demographic trends, I think, oh no, it's my intro to business class. We talk about this as far as a customer base. Single and working parents, right? So there's gonna be more food service, more need for childcare. Leisure time, more interest in health, fitness, technology, recreation. Longer lifespans, hopefully not for me, but for the rest of you guys. Demand for travel, healthcare, retirement facilities, and then employment training. Demand for teachers, corporate trainers, related careers, right? Again, I'm surprised FedEx doesn't have that kind of stuff in-house, but what do I know? They have what, 100,000 employees or something like that worldwide? I don't have any idea. So geographic trends, where jobs are. Well, we're in California. Where are all the jobs leaving? California.
Texas.
Yeah, they're going to Texas, right? They're going to Nevada, they're going to Arizona. Those of you who have your own business here, and who was that? Who said that? Was that Nancy? So you have a California business, right?
Yes, I do.
Is that a pain?
Oh, yeah.
Do you have to pay workers' comp insurance and all that kind of stuff?
For myself, I'm the only employee. I don't have anybody else.
You 1099 everyone else?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's something we get more into in my intro to business class and my investments class. But basically, she treats the people who work with and for her, she treats them as independent contractors, not employees. And this is what this whole AB5 was about, this Uber and Lyft law. Are those people actually employees? Does Uber have to provide them benefits? Do they have to pay unemployment insurance, et cetera, et cetera? So those are massive costs. Right? California just makes it more and more difficult to be an employer. Would you agree with that statement, Nancy? Yeah.
Yes.
Thank God for that, right? I mean, thank God that you agreed. Otherwise, I'd look bad. Okay, the geographic buying power formula is used to compare living costs and salaries in different cities. Index number times the salary, da, da, da. Basically like, how much does it cost to live in one city versus another? A person earning 30,000 in Nebraska would need to earn 40,000 in Chicago to have comparable buying power. Personally, I would think it's more than that. But I don't know. These things aren't always right. We'll see. Guess it depends where you want to live in Chicago. Career opportunities are affected by high interest rates. Well, we don't have those anymore, thanks to the Federal Reserve. Price increases, we have those now massively, thanks to the Federal Reserve. Decreased global demand for goods and services, right? These things change. For example, high interest rates reduce employment in housing-related industries. Yeah, that's very true. Service industries with greatest employment potential. IT, right? Everyone you know who's any kind of software coder or everything like that makes hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Healthcare and medical technologies, whenever I go to the doctor or whatever, I'm always chatting with the people who are helping me. The X-ray techs, the nurses, the
Nurses say,
people doing the CAT scans and stuff, because I had the brain tumor, so I have to get all that stuff done periodically. So I always chat with them. Where'd you go to school? Hey, why did you go to school there? How much did it cost you to go to school? How much do you earn, et cetera, et cetera. I always ask people that. And interestingly, people always tell me, right? It's kind of funny because I would say, oh, I'm a professor and I teach this stuff. Then they're like, oh, I make this much money and I went to school and it took me this long and cost me this much, et cetera, et cetera. Environmental services, social services, marketing, sales, retailing, hospitality and food, management and HR, education, financial services. It's a pretty long list. Obtaining employment experience. Who was it that was talking about this?
I think.
Say your name for me one more time.
Janesi.
Janesi. Like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Apologies if I keep mispronouncing it.
Everybody does. It's all right.
That's all right. Everyone always spells my name with a C, but at least they pronounce it correctly. So how to obtain employment experience. And this is tough for those of you who don't have it, right? How do you get part-time employment, volunteer work, internships, campus projects? Presumably you get stuff sent around from the school with these kinds of opportunities, but take advantage of it. It's usually the network that is going to be your biggest resource. And I don't know if I told you this. You guys know the Getty Center?
Yeah.
Right. So they were looking for someone with a bachelor's degree and finance experience. And I know someone who interviewed there. And this person has a degree from an Ivy League school, speaks a couple languages, et cetera, goes for 2 or 3 interviews. They had that job posted on LinkedIn for 3 months. They were getting 100 resumes every single day. They got 10,000 resumes for one job. Now, obviously, some of those people aren't going to be qualified, but you've got to figure 20% are. That's still 2,000 to 3,000 people. If your only way of competing is, oh, my resume is going to be better than the other 10,000, I mean, what are the odds?
mm-hmm.
If so, you should be teaching resume writing for the school, and I will take the class. Right?
Yeah.
So you've got to have something to set you apart, right? So if you're going to be in the electrical business, right? Make contacts in that business. Oh, hey, you know what? My buddy over there is looking for someone to run the, San Diego County division for his company. He needs a licensed electrician to run all of San Diego County and do whatever, right? Oh, I don't know how it works with social workers, right? But maybe social workers have some kind of industry event or whatever. And, oh yeah, I know someone who does that, et cetera, right? That is, because imagine, are you going to hire someone whom you know or whom your friend knows and recommends? Or are you just going to pick a resume that looks good out of the pile of 10,000? Career information sources. You can find all this stuff online. If not, anyone here use the campus career office? I haven't had any. I've worked with the one at SMC a little bit, and they seem pretty nice. I don't know what students say about them. Anyone use the one here?
No, I don't.
No.
All right, maybe we should get some sort of presentation from them. Using career information sources. Like I said, networking, process of making and using contacts to obtain and update career information. LinkedIn is a great way to basically have an electronic Rolodex, right? When I started out, you had to have business cards, and I still have hundreds and hundreds of business cards from the 90s. What the hell am I still doing with those? Who knows? But I have them, right? Just in case I need them for some reason to start a fire after the apocalypse or something. Who knows? Main source of network: community organizations, professional organizations, business contacts. Do volunteer work, right? One of my friends is a lawyer. He does tons of volunteer work because that's what he's really passionate about, but that's how he gets most of his business anyway. He doesn't do it to get business. He does it because he really cares about, he like, works with kids and stuff like that, kids who have cancer and that kind of stuff. So he's very passionate about helping those kids. But then, oh, it turns out you're a lawyer and you do this. Oh, actually, I need that service. Can you do that for me? Right? So if you want to be more mercenary about it, you can be like, oh, well, I really don't give a damn about kids with cancer. I'm just in it to make contacts, etc. So you could do that, but you might help some little kids too. So that's good. Effective networking means preparing and practicing a 30-second summary of abilities and experience. Volunteering for committees and events of professional organizations, asking questions to get others to talk about themselves and their experiences. This is good because what you have to do, so I've got a good friend and he teaches at Santa Monica and he teaches sales and entrepreneurship. And I had to do sales when I had my own hedge fund. And then when I had, I owned a band that did like weddings and corporate events, and I had to do sales because no one else would do it. And I sucked at it. And I didn't understand why I sucked at it. And the reason I sucked at it was because I was like, hey, this is me. I'm awesome. Here's why I'm great. Here's why I'm the best. Here's why you should use me, right? And that anyone ever heard, my buddy's a big fan. Anyone ever heard of this guy? He's like a sales coach. He's got a bunch of YouTube videos.
No.
He's pretty entertaining, right? You can go look him up on YouTube. But Jeffrey Gitomer's thing, your customer doesn't give a shit about you. Who does your customer care about?
Themselves.
Exactly. Himself, herself. They don't care about you. I want my office cleaned. Oh, well, I'm the best cleaner of this. I don't care. What's in it for me? Right? Why is hiring you going to be a good move for me? I know why it's going to be good for you because I'm going to give you money. But why is it going to be good for me? Right? And that's what I never realized. I wish I had. I took his class as part of an internship when I was doing a community college teaching certificate. And I'm like, damn, I wish I would have learned this stuff 5 years ago, 10 years ago, right? Because I was always like, here's why I'm great, instead of here's what I'm going to do for you. Here's why I'm going to make your life better. Here's why I'm going to make your life easier. So it's fascinating, that kind of stuff. I am good at getting people to talk about themselves because I'm genuinely interested in people and what they do and all their different experiences. I've lived all over the world. I've met people from pretty much every culture you can imagine. And everyone has a pretty interesting story at the end of the day. And once you get them talking, people have interesting stuff to tell you. Informational interview is a meeting at which you gather information about a career or an organization. If you go into an interview and say, tell me what your business does, that means you haven't done your homework. Do your homework. Know what they do before you go into the interview. My advice is also to always have one or two questions to ask at the end of the interview. A question that makes the interviewer go, oh, this is a good question. Let me think about that. I made the mistake. I had a couple of interviews with Lehman Brothers coming out of business school. I had a job offer from Lehman Brothers before business school. I got my friend a job there. I knew I basically knew everything I needed to know about the firm. And then I'm coming out of my MBA program, have an interview for Lehman Brothers at like a bond trading desk in New York, do the interview. The guy goes, you have any questions for me? And I'm like, no, I know all about your firm. So stupid. So stupid. And the guy probably thought, what a jerk. He's so arrogant. I didn't mean it to be arrogant. Right? I actually just knew a ton about the firm. So, but that was dumb, right? So always have a question, at least one good question that you can, not a yes or no question, something that makes the person think and give you an answer. Identifying job opportunities. Well, networking, career fairs, employment agencies, LinkedIn, right? Word of mouth. I just applied for a job somewhere. Actually, two. Both came through word of mouth. Job creation involves developing an employment position that matches your skills with the needs of an organization. Right? Sometimes an organization might not know exactly what they want. Right? One of my shortcomings, and again, I give you my experience so that you guys can benefit from it, is I'm always, kind of down on myself. And I see people get hired for jobs. I'm like, wow, how did you get hired for that job? You're totally not qualified. They're like, yeah, but I can learn it. Right? So yeah, I just kind of, in England, they say blagged my way into it. I kind of, lied, told the story, maybe not outright lie, but like, oh yeah, I can do that. I'm familiar with that, whatever. Right? Don't lie on your application or anything, because that's a ground to get fired. But if you can say, oh yeah, I can do that. Sure, I have, I'm familiar with that kind of stuff. Confidence, most of these things, again, most jobs aren't that hard at the end of the day. Obviously, if you're an electrician or applying for a job as an electrician, you should know something about being an electrician and electricity, right? So don't go and try and do electrical work where, where you don't know which wire is the one that fries you and which one doesn't. Like one of my apartments down in San Diego, the guy above me bought it and he's just like, oh, I'm going to do some plumbing work. So $4,000 later, I'm trying to sort it out with him and my insurance that like basically, why does the damn place keep leaking? Right? Fix your plumbing. Get an actual plumber to do it. Visit organizations where you would like to work. And then obviously online searches. You guys have probably heard of this thing called the internet. And you can use LinkedIn to find alumni, people who went to your school, who work in that field or at that firm, etc. So I have that. I don't really see in my kind of field now. There's no one from my sort of business school who does anything like what I'm doing now. Resume is a summary of your education, training experience. I would always advise having a resume up to date. Have a friend or two look at it, take it to the Career Services Center. I think they have resume writing workshops. Is that right?
Yeah, they have writing workshops, but I don't think they're open right now, but you can do it through Zoom. I believe that's how they're doing it now since we're in class.
We finished?
Okay, good. And then there's some more details in your book about that. So the cover letter, just be careful on this. Generally try and write a new one for each application, because I've received ones that, they obviously
had nothing to do with it.
In the middle of it, they reference another company that's not my company. So you can see that they obviously sent it to somebody else, so it looks bad or the formatting's bad. My old business partner was an investment banker, so he's like, aha, this is the wrong font, right? So you can tell they pasted our name in here because it's, Arial 12 and the rest of it is in Times New Roman 11, etc. So, some people will catch that. So just try and avoid that. Just type something up from scratch and have somebody else look at it. Financial and legal aspects, accepting an employment position. Research the job and the company before accepting an employment position. Well, you should have done this before your interview, right? Again, it's like my buddy Tom, who teaches over at SMC. If someone comes in, is like, oh, tell me about your company. He's like, get out of here, right? You don't come in. The interview is for me to find out about you, not for you to find out about my company, right? If you aren't going to do the work to find out about my company ahead of time, I don't want to hire you. Look, one of the things that's always a good question is to ask about the work environment, the corporate culture, right? And that's a good, finishing question where you can try and ask someone a leading question or an open-ended question about the work environment, the corporate culture. You don't want to ask them, hey, do you hate your job? Do you dread coming in every day? That might be a bit much, but you can kind of be a bit more subtle about it. Like, what keeps you coming into work every day? Hopefully the person doesn't say the paycheck. Hopefully there's a bit more to it than that. Some factors that affect your salary, your education, as we just found out, right, at FedEx. If you don't have your bachelor's, you can't get to a certain level. So you need to have that education. Presumably the training is what the company offers you, the size, salaries for comparable positions, et cetera, et cetera. Evaluating employee benefits. Meeting employee needs. Non-salary benefits include childcare, leaves of absence, elder care, right? As demographics change, as people are caring for elderly parents or caring for children or single parents or et cetera, you know, firms have had to adapt to that. We talk about this in my intro to business class, and we talk about it more when we're talking about management, right? If we have a lot more single parents, are we just gonna be like, ah, to hell with them, they can't work? You know, we only want people who come from nuclear families and have their own childcare, i.e. a non-working spouse. Well, one, that's probably not even legal. Two, that's not really what we want as a society. We don't want to shut all of those people out of the workforce. I always tell the story. You guys watch The Simpsons?
Yeah.
You know, Milhouse, Bart's friend?
Yeah.
So Milhouse's parents get divorced. And Milhouse's dad works for his father-in-law at the cracker company. And the father-in-law, once they get divorced, he's like, yeah, you're fired. And he's like, what? Why am I fired? And the guy goes, crackers are a family business. He's like, maybe single people eat crackers. We don't know. Frankly, we don't care. We don't want them as customers, right? Obviously, no one's going to do that in the real world. So firms have to, and this is a challenge as a firm, right? How do you come up with ways to be more flexible? It's a lot easier as a company to say, okay, if you want to work here, you got to show up at 8. You can take a lunch break from 11:30 to 12:30, and then you can leave at 5. Not everyone can do that, right? And I'm sure some of you have kids or siblings or parents or whatever that you have to help take care of. I've got kids, right? I missed a meeting the other week because my son's gums were bleeding and I had to take him to the dentist, right? Now we're fortunate in that, you know, once he's out of the dental chair, I can log in on my phone just like this and take part in the meeting, right? But how do you account for that? What if it were a different type of industry and I had to be available? So these are the things that is always a challenge for employers, and that's part of the reason HR has and technology have become so key. It's trying to find ways around this where we can't just tell everyone you got to be here from 8 to 5, 5 days a week. Right? Cafeteria style benefits allow workers benefits credits that they can use to meet their needs. I've never had a firm that had cafeteria style benefits. I had a firm that basically had cafeteria style food benefits, if you will, i.e. really crappy benefits that didn't really meet my needs. That was most of the companies I worked for, to be honest. Some will have flexible spending plans and medical spending accounts. I always preferred working for smaller firms. I didn't like working for big firms. The big firms are the ones with better benefits. The small firms are kind of like, yeah, I guess you can have healthcare. I mean, it's going to be pretty crappy and pretty expensive, and we're required to offer it to you, but it's not really valuable. So, you know, that's one of the downsides of working for small firms. FedEx, what kind of benefits do they have? Are they any good?
I had good benefits where I work.
Which is where?
Rep Providence.
Oh, okay, Providence. I should hope so. Or a hospital, right? I should hope they have good benefits there. What about who's at FedEx?
Who's
Me.
And how are their benefits?
Oh, the benefits that I have are excellent.
Are they better than Home Depot or worse?
Well, with Home Depot, I was an assistant store manager. So technically, my daughters are still under their, recently had surgery. They're under their care.
Okay.
But Home Depot was better than FedEx.
Okay. And who's our electrician?
Jorge.
That Jorge? Jorge's playing Fortnite right now. We'll get back to us later.
No, I was trying to find my thing, but
Do you work for
we have all right benefits. I work for a small we just hit 50 employees, so we just switched to corporate.
Okay.
So now we are switching our medical coverage and everything, but right now we currently get like an allotment a month to cover for our medical bills. But we still have like We have an IRA. Our company matches 3% of our IRA, a simple IRA. And then we have like basic health and dental, stuff like that. But we're getting bigger and larger. So the larger we get, the more money we have to put towards medical and stuff.
Okay, good. Yeah, we'll
But
talk
we
about
have
IRAs
decent benefits.
401ks. You generally should always take advantage of that. That's free money. Comparing benefits, compare job offer benefits based on market value or future value calculations, what you need. I'm a professor, so I'm part of a union, so the union negotiates that. But they're different per district. I'm not full-time, but if I were full-time, Santa Monica basically offers free healthcare, like almost no out of pocket. It's like $90 a month. And I would be able to insure my whole family for like $90 a month as my cost, which is unreal. The same plan through El Camino would be like $1,300 a month or $1,000 a month or something like that. It's crazy. And then Santa Monica, I think once you work there 5 years full time, you get free healthcare for the rest of your life.
Wow.
So it's crazy. Obviously, El Camino doesn't offer that. El Camino is more like a private employer in terms of the benefits. Tax equivalent employee benefits. Employee benefits that are non-taxable have a higher financial value. Obviously, you don't have to pay tax on them. Calculate the tax equivalent value, the value of the benefit divided by 1 minus the tax rate. Receiving a life insurance policy with a non-taxable annual premium is comparable to receiving a taxable one. I'll let you do the math there on your own. Your employment rights. You have legal rights both during the hiring process and on the job. Employment pregnancy rights. Now, my friend is a professor. She got pregnant. There's no pregnancy leave.
No.
So she had to use up all of her vacation time, which really surprised me. My guess is that, as you guys probably know, the bulk of the professors are older. So there probably aren't many, younger people who are planning or going to be pregnant. So I would imagine that they don't value pregnancy leave. If you're 65 years old, what do you care, right? That's my guess. I don't know. No discrimination in the selection process. Minimum wage and overtime pay legislation may apply. Great. Let me ask a quick poll question since this is all over the news. Oops, what did I just click on? Quick poll while we're here. All right, 29 of you in class. Shouldn't take us too long. Nayeli, no worries. Good job teaching your baby cousin to do the laundry early. I love it. Son loves cooking. I'm hoping he'll cook more because I don't really care to cook. All right, just another 10 or 15 seconds. Those of you, can everyone see the poll?
Yeah.
Wow, 77% for it, 23% against. Ouch. I am not in favor of raising the minimum wage. Interesting. Thank you, guys. Might be able to talk about that later in the semester. Okay, no discrimination, minimum wage and overtime pay may apply, workers' compensation, Social Security, unemployment insurance. Again, there are tons of agencies that provide counseling for these kinds of things for free. So if you can't find one, I don't know if the school has any sort of place they can steer you to, but if you ever run into a problem like this, let me know and I'll see if I can help you find the right agency for you to reach out to if you feel your employment rights are violated. You know, you should, I worked in finance. It was, you know, pretty horrible in terms of the way people treated each other. And I was probably more guilty of that than anyone else. Not in terms of discrimination or anything like that, but just getting upset with people for doing a really lousy job. Because some of the people who covered me got paid a lot of money and they were really bad at their job. And I have a real problem with that. Obviously, if, you know, someone's a waiter or something like that, that's an incredibly hard job that's not that well paid. So, you know, I would never be rude to a waiter or anyone like that. But if you're 25 years old and getting paid $250,000, you should be really good at your job, in my mind. And if you're not, then you should be fired. But, you know, if you're a waiter, you work at In-N-Out Burger, or you're a waitress or something like that, right? Like, those are tough jobs. You don't get paid a lot of money. And it's kind of interesting, having lived overseas and having dated a few girls from like wealthy families, they never had jobs like that. And obviously I'm not that wealthy, unfortunately, but even if I were, I would still make certain that my kids had jobs like that. My first job was at SeaWorld, where I had to walk around and sell like soda and stuff like that, you know, before the Shamu show and the dolphin show and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, you had to like walk around and make change, and, you know, people would complain that the churro was cold or, you know, something or other. And so you had to kind of like, you know, minor customer problem resolution, et cetera. And I just think that really gives you an appreciation for what, you know, like one of my ex-girlfriends was super, super wealthy. Her first job ever was at a hedge fund. She never knew what it was like to be a waitress or work in a bar or something like that. And, you know, I'm sure I don't need to tell you guys, right? Like quite a few of you have probably, you know, done jobs like that. And it's really hard. And it's tiring and you don't get paid a lot of money. So I just, it blows my mind that there are people out there who don't have any experience with that and don't understand, you know, how hard it is. I mean, one of my cousins, he's since passed away, but, you know, he hit me up for $400, and this ex, she's like, how does somebody not have $400? A lot of people don't, right? A lot of people, that's the difference between, you know, like being able to pay rent and having to live in your car. You know, and I think it's just sad that people don't understand that. I mean, I teach personal finance, so I deal with this kind of stuff and with people encountering situations like that all the time. And I think it's not healthy for society that there's a chunk of people who have no idea how the average person lives. So anyway, sorry, back to what we were talking about. If you run into problems like this, reach out. There are some agencies that help with these things. Obviously, I'm not qualified to give advice on something like this, but I can help point you in the right direction. Long-term career development. Analyze techniques available for career growth and advancement. A career can be for a lifetime. You know, you start building up skills, you build a network, you know, you can keep growing and growing. You won't have the same job, but you might be in the same career, right, for your entire working life. Some skills and attitudes that can lead to a fulfilling work life. Communicate well with others. Again, this is a big thing, right? People like dealing with people that they like, right? And if you're able to communicate well with people and get along with them. This is this other Jeffrey Gitomer thing. This guy's got great videos. He's really entertaining, right? Jeff Gitomer. His big thing is, he goes, all things being equal, people would rather buy from friends. All things not being equal, people would still rather buy from friends. Would you rather buy insurance from your friend or for some random person who just calls you up on the phone?
Friend.
Yeah, you generally do it from a friend, right? Hey, you know what? I started working with this insurance company. You know what? I can get you a term life program, you know, et cetera. Oh, okay. All right. I know Eric. I grew up with Eric. I'd rather buy it from him than somebody else. Be flexible and open to new ideas, develop efficient work habits. This is what I struggle with as a professor. And I think I mentioned the reason I set up this course the way it is, where there's stuff due every week, is because last semester I taught an 8-week class. It was my first 8-week class in the COVID environment. There was no lecture, and I basically had, like I always do, the first week you have an assignment due so that I can make sure, and you can make sure your IT is working properly, right? You've got your log on, you got your system, et cetera, et cetera. And then I had everything due at the end of the course, and it was a complete disaster, right? And I showed you, this was an online only course, and I showed you this distribution, and there were so many people who got Fs. And 3 weeks because everything was 90% of the work wasn't due until the end of the 8 weeks. And I kept sending out emails to these people. Hey, you haven't done anything. You haven't done anything. You haven't done anything. And it was probably, let's say there were 40 students. There were probably 20 something students who hadn't done anything. So I'm sending emails out to 20, 25 students, and probably 4 or 5 of them replied like, oh, I'm really sorry, professor. I've got this going on, but I'll do it. I'll do it. Those ones did it, but the other ones, I don't know what they were doing. I don't know why they were enrolled in the class, or I don't know what was going on with them. I don't have their phone numbers. I can't call them or anything. I just keep emailing, and so a lot of people failed. And then a number would come up to me after the semester. Oh, hey, can I do everything now? And, I don't consider myself a hard ass as a professor, right? I'm here for you guys. I'm here to help you guys learn. So, the weekly assignments are to keep you on track, but especially in my investments class that I, create all myself, it's much more like you can turn the homework in whenever you want. Just like here with your worksheets, those of you who've already started the worksheets, if you don't get full credit, you can always, change it or improve it or whatever to get full credit, because I think these are important tools for you to learn. And if you don't get it by week 4, well, that's okay, because the important thing for me is that you learn how to calculate your net worth. Whether you do it by week 4 or week 12 or week 16, I don't care. I just want you to be able to do it, because that's going to be important for you in life. It's going to be important to find the right place or the cheapest place to get car insurance, or to know about it. So, because you can pay the exact same car insurance. They were all due last week, Nayeli. If you didn't turn them in, you get an F. Sorry. Joking, obviously, for those who are actually no, I think, when are they due? I think they're due the first one's due in like a week or something. I can't remember off the top of my head.
The worksheet?
Yeah, the worksheets. There are
The
4.
16th, I think it's the first one that's due.
Okay, so a few people have done them already, and I go through them, and if stuff's not right, you don't get full credit, but then you can fix it and resubmit it. And if it's right, you'll get full credit. Because again, these things are important. But again, like going back to my class last semester, and I have all these students after the semester's over, oh, I want to do this stuff now. Well, again, I'm teaching the things I teach because these skills are important for you to have. But at the same point, like when you have a job, right? Does your boss sit there and go, okay, every 2 days I need this, and then in 3 weeks I need this, and I'm going to ask you about it every 4 days to make sure you're on track?
Nope.
No. What does your boss say?
Do this.
Yeah, do this. I need it by the 15th.
Yesterday.
Yeah, or yesterday.
It's always yesterday, yeah.
Right. But they're not gonna stand over you and be like, hey, you've got this thing due in 2 weeks. Are you doing it? Are you doing it? Because it's like, hey, you get paid. I'm assuming you're doing the work, right? So for me, this is challenging because I do want you guys to learn the skills, but at the same point, I don't think I'm doing you any favors if I let all of you do no work all semester and then come on to me a week after the semester is over and go, okay, now I want to do the work. Because your boss is not going to put up with that. What's going to happen if you try that in your job?
Bye.
Right? Jorge, you're supposed to do you know, some electrical work on Wednesday, you don't do it, and next Tuesday you go, oh, can I come and do it now? Sorry, the building
I'd
already
be
burned.
fired.
Yeah, you'd be fired, and the building's already
I'd
burned
be
down,
fired in a heartbeat.
right? You know, so
But-
again, that's just so you guys can get an idea of what's going on in my head and why I do the things that I do, because I know some of you will, you know, will be in situations and won't be able to do stuff. And I try and be accommodating at some point, but you know, at the end of the day, it's like, hey, you know, I do ultimately want to prepare you for, you know, the real world. Did somebody else have a comment? Thought I cut somebody off. No? All right, almost done with this slide pack. So we talked about those. Training opportunities. Continue to learn about new technology, diverse cultures, management strategies, global economy. That's what I'm doing. I've got 2 professor friends, and I do a lot of, I don't know if you guys saw my YouTube stuff like on GameStop, etc. But they're going, a number of people said I should do a YouTube channel or you know, something like that. So that's actually going to be in part of the feedback I'm going to ask for in the next 10 minutes when we stop early. You know, learning new technology and finding ways to reach people and give them, you know, the skills and the education they need. Formal methods for expanding knowledge, company programs, webinars, seminars, college courses. As an electrician, do you have to do any kind of, so like my mom was a nurse for a long time, and she would periodically have to do like, go to courses or do exams for
Yes.
No, I don't. As an electrician, I don't, but in a way I do, because there's always new, I don't know how to explain. There's always new technology and new equipment coming out. So I do like get certified on new equipment.
There you go.
We have quarterly meetings, and also we have instructors come in sometimes, and we're like learning new things about solar. We're learning new things about all this other stuff in the industry.
That's what
So in a way, yes and no.
Yeah, like certifications, like, oh, there's a new, you know, lithium battery, inverter, etc. Oh yeah, I'm certified on those now. Okay, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I do a lot of certifications through Tesla, actually.
Okay, yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, and again, meeting with employees from other companies, etc. That just builds your network, you know, going to those kinds of things and, you know, going out for drinks afterwards and stuff like that. That's where we always did all of our networking. Career paths and advancement. A mentor can be an experienced employee or a retired individual who desires to share their knowledge and experience with newer employees. Mentors are attracted to those who show initiative. Prospective mentors should be receptive to assisting others, help them in both the technical and social aspects of career. This is very valuable. When I was at Credit Suisse, I was in like a, you know, program to develop talent. They gave me a mentor in it. They came up with the idea to give people mentors in totally different areas. So I don't think that was very useful, because my mentor worked on a different floor, totally different product. He didn't know anyone I worked with. He didn't know what I did, et cetera. So I don't think that was very useful. You know, it would be, yeah. So I don't know, because it's not like you would never switch to that area. Right, so it wasn't very helpful. Usually it's going to be someone who's hopefully more relevant to what you're doing or where you're going, etc. But always take advantage of that stuff. It's pretty cool for the most part. Stages of career development, you can go over that on your own. Changing careers. Changing jobs may be more difficult than selecting the first job. Carefully assess the financial and personal costs and benefits of changing careers, determining whether a career change will serve your needs and goals. So when I left Asia, I wanted to get out of finance and go into teaching. Well, I was changing geographies. I was going from Asia to Southern California. I had not lived in Southern California since 1991 is when I left Southern California. This was like 2014. So I had no contacts here. And then I was switching careers, you know, switching from finance, investment banking to education. Well, that's very difficult to change both of those. If I had wanted to move from finance in Asia to finance in Southern California, okay, that's a much easier move. Or if I wanted to move from finance in Asia to teaching in Asia, then I'm still in the same geography. So changing one of those things is easier than changing both. So I didn't work for 2 years, which was awesome. I did a lot of surfing and raised my son. So that's cool. I wasn't too stressed, but for most of us, we don't have that luxury. So it can be difficult. Just keep that in mind if you're ever going to be like, oh, I'm going to change geographies and change my industry. It might be very tough. You might have to take a step down.
I changed geography from New York to here, and now I'm going to change a job. So
you changed one, and how long have you been here?
7 years.
Oh, okay. So you've been here 7 years. So you're going to go into a totally different industry?
Not this. I mean, it's healthcare, but at least it's in the same hospital.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, that's a lot easier to do.
Yeah.
That's smart. I generally don't do things that are intelligent. That's what makes me such a good teacher, because I make all kinds of mistakes. And you got to learn from. Lucky you. All right. Forced career changes. To cope with difficult career situations. Acknowledge stress, anxiety, frustration, and fear. Maintain appropriate eating, sleep, exercise, and social activities. Does it say maintain appropriate drinking? Determine sources of emergency funds and cut unnecessary spending. This is what it's all about, right? And as I've said before, a lot of us got bailed out when COVID hit, but the next time it's probably not going to be on such a massive scale. So you cannot expect a bailout like what happened, right? Unemployment, normally $450 a week. It was over $1,000 a week. You should not expect that, right? Expand network activities through professional organizations, community activities, volunteering. Yeah, that's important to do, right? You got to keep busy and maintain your contacts. Seek an assessment of your competencies and experience from others. Improve career skills through personal study and online courses. This is what a number of people are doing, is studying. Oh, okay, I'm not working, I'm on unemployment or something. How can I improve my skills while I'm not working? Target your job search to high growth industries, small startups, other emerging opportunities. Consider opportunities with nonprofit, temporary employment, or consulting. Maintain a positive outlook to communicate confidence. That's good. That's tough to do. That you can read through on your own. The appendix there. Thoughts, questions, comments?
It's good. No.
Let me give you, so one thing before we do maybe this isn't the right time. No, I'll ask that later on. All right, I'm going to pop something in the chat. Oops. What this is anonymous. This is feedback. I'm going to take this probably 2 or 3 times throughout the course. And this just gives me an idea as to how I'm doing and how I can improve. Right? I'm here to help you guys learn, to give you guys skills that are valuable in life. And I understand everyone doesn't learn the same way, and things that work well for certain people don't work for other people. Okay. Let me post this in here. Okay, everyone see that? This is anonymous. This is anonymous. Hold on, let me record this.